What's up, guys? Quick disclaimer here because there's a chance some of you might not actually care about the information in this video. If you want to see what Streets looks like, then stick around. If for whatever reason you don't want to see what Streets looks like, then this video isn't for you. We have a very good understanding of what Streets is going to look like already because we are able to connect a lot of buildings to each other throughout the various teases and screenshots of work in progress that we've gotten over the years. So some people, myself included, have gone and made maps for it because we are completely sane human beings and don't spend way too much time looking into this stuff. The new work in progress screenshots that we got last week with Tarkov TV showed some changes and even more potential changes to the way we have the map laid out right now. So this video points out those changes and how the layout should look now. This video is important to the channel so that I can reference back to it in the future. So even though the information is a little obscure and even seen as spoilers for some out there, I'm doing it anyway. So here we go. I was taking a look at the new screenshots that we got for Streets from last week's Tarkov TV to see where they might fit into the current maps that we have for the location and notice some changes. For those who don't know, we have been able to identify certain buildings over the years from the various screenshots and teases to get an approximate map for Streets. I even made a video where I built up a portion of the map in Unreal Engine. Well, based off these new screenshots, I've realized that some have moved or BSG just weren't paying attention to the backgrounds in some cases, but either way, there for sure is a couple changes and we now have a better idea of the look and scope of Streets. These are the two 2D maps online that I was able to find, and one of them even uses my old video as a source. However, this other one I think shows a clearer picture and is more accurate. To help explain things as clearly as possible, I'm going to put down some landmarks. This road here is what I call Main Street, this road here is what I call 2nd Street, and this road is what I'm going to call 3rd Street. We start the first tease at the bottom of Main Street, then move into what I call Park 1. That first tease is very straightforward. You just go into the closest building and look around it a bit. But it does give you good bearings compared to where the high rises are and Main Street. At the start of tease 2, you are on the corner of Main and 2nd Street. Then most of the tease you are moving through the buildings around 2nd Street. I actually realized while I was working on this video, there's a large amount of the footage from 2nd tease that includes buildings along Main Street and Park 1. Tease 3, aka Concordia, is all around this area between 2nd and 3rd Street, while at the beginning it shows us the side street that cuts through what I'm calling Block 1, sort of between Main Street and 2nd Street. Some landmarks are high rises, Blue Tower, Dome Tower, car dealership, construction, and Concordia. And to recap, we have Main Street, 2nd Street, 3rd Street, Block 1, Park 1, construction, Concordia, high rises, Blue Tower, and Dome Tower. Using the high rises with their distinct roofs, we can place a lot of these buildings and things do not add up with some of the more recent screenshots that we got. The most obvious change is around this screenshot and the building we explore in tease 1. We can see the high rises, then we walk into this building with the white and green halls, yellow balls on the sidewalk, benches, and trash cans with one of the trash cans bent over outside. When we walk outside of this building in the second tease, you can see this place set and red sheds across the street and a distinct brick building with 4 T-frame windows above a door and a blue van out front. We got this screenshot a while back from Nikita and a Nikki leak, I believe, and it shows that same brick building I just described, but the building that we walked out of in tease 2, the same building from that first tease that we got the big tour of, is gone. This is that first building in question, whether BSG decided to move it for whatever reason, or whoever took this screenshot had this building removed, or it was bugged, or something weird happened. Or again, this was a change. Either way, that is 100% where that building was for the first tease, and in this screenshot it is not there. And the reason why I bring this up is because we don't actually see it in the third tease or any of these other screenshots, so there's no way for us to make sure that that building is still there. So sometime between the second tease and when we got this screenshot, that building could have been removed and there could have been a lot of changes to the location. The second most clear change is this tower here. You can see it in the first 2 teases along with a dome tower close by. Well, in the new screenshots you can see the dome tower on its own and the taller one on its own. At first I wondered if maybe the person had their draw distance too low, but you can see much farther down on the left. Given what we see here, I'm confident that this tower was originally planned to be over here, but was moved over in this area somewhere, and it possibly was brought over with a bunch of the buildings around it, but nothing certain about that, just a feeling that I will explain a bit later. While we're here, I did connect this building to Main Street from the first and second tease, so I think Main Street has changed a bit as well since you can't see the trolley in the teases. So BSG are absolutely putting some time in around this area, making some pretty significant changes. Not necessarily a change, but something new to point out is the long street we can see here. There sure seems like a lot more accessible areas down that street. While thanks to Axel TV for the translation, this sign here says Scary Movie, so this building might somehow be associated with the theater or at least close to it, possibly. The next change is something that I discovered while going down this rabbit hole. As we walk out of the building from the first tease in the second tease, you can see the buildings across the way past the park, and you can see the crane above construction just beyond some of them. When we use another clip from the second tease for reference and we check out the crane, then the distance matches to make this building in the middle a building that should be seen from the beginning of tease number 3, but you don't. At the beginning of tease number 3, you can see construction and you can see the building on the other side of the street from construction. They're both pretty distinct. The road that we're standing on here should absolutely be that side street through what I call block 1 and walking towards 2nd Street. So this gray building that we can see from the second tease is not there anymore. So that again points to a change that could have happened after the second tease in block 1, and it seems to have changed significantly. Something I would like to point out is the likeliness that 2nd Street goes much farther down past Concordia and construction, as seen in some of the shots from tease 3. So we have potential for a lot of open area to the south and a lot of open area to the north. What we're left with is a significant amount of buildings we know BSG have worked on being unable to be placed in the locations we have now. Where those buildings are located is what's a little tricky, but thanks to the high rises, we have an approximate area. Using the original 2D map here, I'll point out where I think each are and why. First, starting with Tower and the theater. If we call the high rises north, then Tower is clearly south in the same direction as block 1, given the perspective of the high rise. So I'm certain that that places Tower and this area around the theater south of block 1. From this screenshot with Tower and the high rises behind it, there's this distinct building near it. That same building can be seen along with the theater, which has its own distinct look, in another shot. Then with a third shot with the theater, you can see a building in the background that matched the building Tower is a part of, but you can't see Tower or high rises. In the distance of this shot, you can see a large building with a distinct look that I'm calling blue. In another shot, you can see blue along with a different distinct looking set of buildings that you can again see in another screenshot. However, in this one, you can also see Dome Tower. In conclusion, I think the total area we're looking at for streets is something like this. I think there is a very large area south of block 1 and Concordia that stretches west and has the theater area we see in it. Then to the north of block 1 and the car dealership, there's more area around Main Street. This area most likely stretches north, but also might stretch a bit east. But if it did take up a lot of space to the east, then I think they would have kept the tower there. So my guess is the map doesn't go too much farther past the buildings connected to Dome Tower to the northeast. Now to the east of car dealership, I think that they built this area up a little, and I think this shot shows that this building here might be this building, but really the only tell is Dome Tower. Now if you're paying really close attention, then you might have realized that I connected these buildings to buildings that are near blue, and that's one of the things that kept me busy. I want to chalk it up to BSG reusing buildings because it's a city. There's going to be a lot of buildings that you reuse. Another possibility is that that isn't actually Dome Tower, it's just something that looks very similar to it. I guess we'll have to wait and see when we actually get to play on streets. So if they kind of keep the vibe of what's going on down here to the south, I think there's a lot of tight and tall buildings down here, and I think the variety of screenshots that we've seen most recently show that. Just as a random example, we can see these tall buildings with a park in the middle that isn't Park 1. So unless there's two very similar parks right next to each other, this could be a large amount of buildings off somewhere away from block 1. And given the circumstances, I think that it's possible that these are on the other side of Main Street from what we see on tease 1, closer to the high rises. Given that we know that that street to the north goes much farther down, so I think it makes sense to fill that area up. But again, we'll see. Now it's possible BSG have made these changes just for these screenshots to try and throw us off, since they have been doing a lot of that lately, or it's possible that mistakes were made with the builds used to get these screenshots. But given the fact that BSG are now really pushing to get Streets Part 1 out the door, along with just finishing the game in general, I really do think it makes complete sense that they drew the scope of Streets a bit in and decided to take some of the area that they were working on to the northeast and just moved it to the south next to block 1, because that will account for the changes that we're seeing down there and the move of the tower. So I went and spent way too much time on something that probably isn't even that interesting to most of you out there, but we do now have a solid look at the scope of Streets in its current state. In case you don't quite get the picture, for a bit of assistance, this is approximately how it looks compared to Interchange. BSG have been saying for years now that Streets is going to be larger than all of the other maps combined, and I really believe them. But that's going to do it for today, guys. I'm going to do a general Streets info sesh referring back to this video, but until then, I will, as always, keep an eye out for anything new and let you guys know more once I do. Quick plug here for the Pray for Wipe and Sons of Soon shirts and hoodies. Link below if you like what you see. Thank you guys for the support. But for more Tarkov news and content, follow me on Twitter or check out these playlists here. If you like this video, then you know the drill. Please subscribe. I really appreciate the people who do. If you're looking for people to play with, check out our Discord. Links below if you're interested. Otherwise, I hope you have a nice day. See you guys.